I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, January the 13th. We're just going to look past the 2019 crops. Everybody got really confused with all the resurveying and adjustments that they made on the crop production, and nobody really knows where they're at, and nobody feels real confident in the reports that come out. We had a summary of 2019 crops production on Friday come back out. We were thinking that they were going to adjust it back down, and they ended up adjusting it back up a little bit. And yes, it's a lot lower than 2018's, but everybody kind of thought that maybe the flooding and everything that went on in 2019 was going to pull it back more than what the report actually said that it did. So seems like most everybody's just going to be pretty happy with just moving on and forgetting about that whole deal. But you look at the difference between the summary of this past year's and the previous year. Our corn production was 13.7 billion bushels. That was down 5% for the previous year. Your average yield 168 bushels to the acre. That was down 8.4 bushels to the acre. And your harvested acres there, and that's what everybody really thought that we'd have a big adjustment on compared to the estimates that we had just within the last few months, and didn't really see that. But your harvested acres, 81.5 million acres on corn, and that was up less than 1%. Your soybeans production, 3.56 billion bushels, down 20% compared to 2018, but like I said, we knew that and didn't change the report didn't change much from the estimates that we had just within the last few months. Your average yield on beans, 47.4 bushels to the acre. That was down 3.2 bushels to the acre. And harvested acres of beans, 75 million, down 14%. But one thing that we did kind of learn, though, is we are now at 92% genetically modified crops. And with these hybrids that these seed companies are making now, which we've got fewer seed companies than we used to have, but you can basically grow this stuff in the parking lot or in the Sahara Desert. They're doing such a good job. Thank goodness, or we wouldn't be able to fill or feed this growing world with fewer farmers out there. But they've got it where it's almost foolproof. But some people have decided that they don't want to eat the genetically modified crops and let them go ahead and pay more if they want to. I'm not sure how they think we're going to continue to feed this world that's growing, and we got fewer and fewer farmers all the time. But let's look at the board on cattle for last week. Your February live cattle futures, Monday was up 255, Tuesday down 75 cents, just kind of coming off. They thought they overdid it early in the week. Wednesday was down 17, Thursday up 37, and Friday up 70 cents. With your February live cattle futures, 127.42. That was up $2.70 for the week. April live cattle contracts ended the week at 127.95, up 228. January feeder cattle, Monday was up 407. You saw those big giant gains right there, and then they thought they overdid it. So Tuesday we backed off $1.52. Wednesday was back up 92. Thursday up 10 cents. Friday up 67 cents. With January feeder cattle contracts ending the week at 147.60, up at $4.25 for the week. March contracts 147.45, up 478 for the week. So big gains on your cattle futures for the first full week of 2020. Fat cattle trade, we'd seen big gains through the holidays. It was looking like maybe we would squeeze a little bit more out of it. We kind of did. We'll talk about it more. But waiting on Friday, we didn't get a full report yet. We don't know how much business was done and what level it was, but through Thursday, 3,800 head. So they hadn't sold hardly anything, just a few deals here and there in Iowa for the most part. But on Friday was when your trade took place, and it looks as though on a live basis your sales were mostly steady, with maybe a pinch of weakness in there because we didn't see quite as much 125 as we did the previous week, but still by and large steady. And your dressed market though, probably a buck higher. So you guys tell me how that works out. But in Iowa, they had the live sales on Friday from 124 to 126, mostly 125 to 126. Iowa's back getting a pretty good premium right there. Their dress sales were $1.98 to $2, mostly $2 dressed. Nebraska, all the live sales at 124, and that's the part where we might see a little bit of weakness, and a part where we don't really know what happened because Colorado and Texas both were confidential, so we didn't see any of that reporting. We'll kind of be able to read between the lines on the wrap up, which will come out Monday, and we'll talk about that on our next visit. But mostly 124, and like I said, that could be deemed a little bit weak there. But your dress market was sure a buck higher because almost all your sales the previous week were $1.99, and on Friday they were $2. Kansas and Texas sold at 124, and then that was steady. We don't really know, or I don't know, there's people out there that probably do, but none of my contacts really knew what was happening in western Nebraska and Colorado there because we couldn't see that reporting, but we'll be able to snuff it out here on Monday's report. Box beef cutout values for the week. Your weighted average price for last week's trade altogether, choice cuts 209.74. That would have been 78 cents higher than the previous week's weighted average. Selects 206.68, up $2.79. So continuing to narrow that choice select spread, and on the weighted average quotes there, it was only $3.06 on the weighted average, but a good heavy movement of 758 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings, and on your cutout values, your volume is everything, and they had a nice healthy volume there, moved quite a bit of product and gained some ground. So it looks like we have found a bottom to your cutout values, and they'll kind of hold in here close to where they're at for a while, or should. Your slaughter for last week, 640,000, 9,000 more than the same week a year ago. But got to travel around the Midwest the last 10 days or 2 weeks, and see a lot of good friends over the weekend. I was at the Missouri Cattlemen's Association Convention and Trade Show. Saw a lot of good friends there. Gave a talk. It was well received. And I was just really encouraged by all the good people that I saw there that were being active. I think the awareness is probably higher than it's ever been before about some of the things that are addressing our industry, and it was just good to do that. Going to be in West Plains, Missouri on Thursday here this week, so looking forward to doing that, but had several talks around the last couple of months, and everybody seems to be enjoying those for the most part. But moods are pretty high, and the way our market is, we saw that when we come in from the new year, immediately after Christmas, we knew we was going to have a little bit of pen space. Well, we saw the market jump because it had been kind of depressed because there just wasn't any place to put those cattle. We saw some pen space open up. We saw a little bubble in the market. But by the time we got into the middle part of this full week of 2020, we had already clogged it up again. And that's our limiting factor is pen space again. And all your pen space is pretty well taken up again. Just not even a full week or 2 weeks into the 2020 because we just didn't have a whole lot of room there, and that is it's holding our market back a little bit. But don't think that we're gonna suffer on our fat cattle trade. Not right now anyway. We don't have a lot of market ready supplies. Your feedlots are full on the front end. Just a lot of calves in there, big calves and springborn from last year, and we got way too many springborn calves. More of us need to be fall calving and kind of smooth out that supply a little bit, and it would help our markets overall. But you look at your real-time index wrapped up for last week at 146.10. That was up just under $1, up 96 cents compared to the end of the previous week, which was really on light receipts because of the holidays. But your real-time index come through the first full week of 2020, just 48 cents, just less than a half a dollar higher than what it was right before your holidays. So that tells me more than anything. But like I said, we kind of had a burst of that bubble that we saw right after we came back and started trade again. So your big feeders were actually $1 to $2 lower this past week because we were coming off that, and it just, guys weren't quite as aggressive for cattle because we had already clogged up those empty pens that we had just gotten through. But it was your markets come through this first full week of 2020 just about steady with what they were the full last week of 2019. So we made it right through the holidays without too much of a hiccup. Now your stocker calves sharply higher, $3 to $6 higher for sure on your light stocker calves, because guys are already starting to buy grass cattle. They start buying them earlier and earlier every year. I talked to several buyers that said, well, they said as soon as the new year come back, we were going to start buying stocker calves, and they sure did. But I tell you what, these 4 and 5 weight calves around selling really, really well, especially the steers. Guys that are not quite as aggressive for the heifers, of course they never are, but pretty good markets around. I want to give you a few individual quotes that I saw late last week, mostly all on Friday, and some markets that I don't always talk about. But Hill City, Kansas, Hill City Livestock Commission there, they had yearlings and they sold well. 58 head of 821 pound steers bring 153.10 on Friday. How about Crawford Livestock Market in Crawford, Nebraska? 77 head of 623 pound steer calves bring 168.50. And then a market that's way out west, but bringing a Midwest kind of a price there. Of course, the grass is kind of greened up nice out there in California, and they tell me that there's a lot of demand for stocker cattle there. But I tell you what, this quote really impressed me. Shasta Livestock Auction Yard, Cottonwood, California. I call that Merle Haggard Commission Company there. 76 head of 520 pound steers in way out west in California, 185.75. That's your feeder flash for Monday.